Today we are going to connect our Next.js frontend to a real backend API. Until now, our course page was either displaying hard-coded data or data stored directly inside the frontend project. But real applications usually do not work like that. The frontend is responsible for displaying information. The backend is responsible for providing and managing that information. Our Next.js application will send a request to the backend. The backend can be FastAPI or Next.js. It will return course data as JSON. While the request is happening, we will display a loading message. When the request succeeds, we will display the courses. When something goes wrong, we will display an error message and a retry button. The complete flow will be like this. So let me show you the cursor screen and open a sketchpad.txt. So this will be the complete flow. First, Next.js course card will be displayed. From that, we will be able to do a get request, get slash courses. Then our fast API or Next.js backend will receive that request, and it will give back JSON course data. And finally, the course data will appear on the page. Whenever a frontend requests data from a backend, there are three important states. First is loading state. So there are three UI states. First is loading state. Second is in the loading state, the request has started, but the response has not arrived. So it can show like loading courses dot dot dot. Then second can be success state. The backend return the course data successfully. And the third can be error state. So the backend is unavailable, or the URL is incorrect, course is misconfigured, or the backend returned an unsuccessful status code. So we need to show some error message or the relevant output when some error state has been reached. So like we could not load the courses, try again. A real application should not show an empty page while waiting. It should also not crash when the backend is unavailable. That's why loading and error handling are essential front-end skills. So loading and error handling are essential front-end skills. We must pay great attention to loading and error handling also. Because we are using state effects, event handlers, and browser side fetching, our page will be a client component, and we'll start with the use client directive. Next.js documents client components for interactive UI that requires state, event handling, and browser APIs. So, page will be a client component, the front end. Page will be a client component if it requires state or event handling. So, what is called as event handling? Some event has occurred, and I need to respond that accordingly. And browser APIs. So there are a lot of browser APIs. If it needs to use them, then it will be a client component. And to make a page in Next.js, to make a page's client component, we need to add the directive use client on the top. So now first let us prepare the FastAPI backend. So let me create a new FastAPI project. So I will create a new folder, mkdir FastAPI backend. And inside that, I will create a new virtual environment. So I will write Python minus m v env v env, and I will also include a dot get ignore and write v env there so that it can ignore the virtual environment folder. Also, I create one app.py or main.py, and now I will write the code of main.py. So let's copy this code. So it has got three courses and two routes, one for health and second is for courses. So we are giving a temporary delay so that loading state is visible, and after that we return the courses. Now let us activate the virtual environment. So I will type dot slash venv slash scripts slash activate. Now that our virtual environment is activated, so let us install the relevant packages. So I need to install FastAPI, FastAPI and UVCon. Once it is installed, okay, so let me install FastAPI and UVCon. Let me ask it from the AI agent what is the correct command for this. So it is saying the same command. So what was the difference? Okay, so my spelling was wrong. Now once it is installed, let me type this command UVCon main colon app minus minus reload minus minus port 8000. So it will start the app on 8000 port and it will get reload whenever I make some change. So earlier I had not saved it, that's why it showed this error loading ASGI app, attribute app not found in module. Now it has been saved, so startup has been complete. Let us now switch to the browser window and let's try to open localhost colon 8000. So let me share the window. So it is saying details not found, detail not found. So maybe I need to change the route by slash health. Okay, so it is healthy, and slash courses. I should get all the course. Okay, so I'm getting the three courses. So our front end is, let us also try to run our front end. So let us run the front end on port 3000. So we need to quickly create a Next.js app. So let's switch back to cursor IDE and create a Next.js app. Let us close the backend for a while and create a new folder. Next.js frontend. Let us now switch to Next.js frontend. And let us write the command to initialize this the Next.js code. So I will write create Next.js project. Ask it from the AI and let's see what does it respond. Okay, so it will create next app at the rate latest in the Next.js folder. So I will press enter. I want to install this package. I will use the recommended defaults. You can also use them. So it is installing the dependencies. So what I will do is I will modify the page.tsx file to display the courses fetched from the backend. So I will generate the code for that. Maybe I can write that side by side till the time it is installing. So in the agent I will type modify page.tsx or I will write at the rate and I am at the correct page.tsx to display the courses fetched from the backend and I will refer the main. So at the rate main.py and I will press the agent part, not plan or devour ask. I will simply use agent or maybe to be safe I can use ask. Then I'll paste the code. Meanwhile, we can run the app locally. So pnpm dev. When we set the mode as ask, then it does not make change it directly in the code. It will just give the answer to the question here in the agent window. So why these are being shown as red lines? Because maybe some packages are missing. Okay, so maybe it installed using package. There are two types of files here: pnpm log and package log. So package log is created when we install using npmi, not and pnpm log is installed when you install using pnpmi. So I will delete this package log.json because we are not using npm. We are using pnpm. We will be using pnpm log. Okay. So let me do once pnpmi just to reinstall all the packages. It is showing already up to date. Let me check npm workspace. Okay, so this error we faced in the last time also. So I'm not sure what should be the values of these allowables. We need to set these. So I will ask from the AI. What should be the appears when we press Control and K. What should be the values? Actually, I want to understand what this UNRS and sharp mean before accepting it. So I will press Control K. What do these keys mean? So it has given me the answer. The allowable key in PNPM workspace.yml is a configuration that controls whether certain dependencies are allowed to be built from source when installing. Setting a package to false, example sharp false, tells PNPM to not attempt to build that package from source during install, which is helpful if you wish to avoid native dependency compilation or using or only use pre-built binaries. Okay, you can ask it to further explain if you have some doubt, then you can ask it to further explain. But I think it is sufficient for me to go ahead and try it with false values. So I'll do PNPM. Okay, now I will do PNPM dev. This is my main.py file. Let me open the page.tsx. So error is still there. Cannot find module next slash image. So I will try to first open this URL using simple browser. See if it is loading or not. Okay, so I'm getting the correct page. So why is this showing the error? Maybe it is due to the fact that the compiler is taking some time. The cursor is taking some time to process the changes made in the package.json and pnpm log files. Okay, so I think we can proceed ahead. Let us now update this page.tsx. So this is a response that I got from the agent, reviewing the frontend page and backend API to outline how to fetch and display courses. It is clearly saying that I'm in ask mode, so I can't read files directly. Switch to agent mode if you want this to apply. Here's how to wire up. So it is telling me how I can do this on my own. So replace the content of page.tsx with something like this. So I'll copy this and paste the code here. I am guessing that this error is coming because we have set this to false. Let's try this to true and this to also true. And again do pnpm. I will delete the pnpm log and again do pnpm. Okay, so maybe I will delete node modules. Shift and delete, and then also delete pnpm log, and then again install them. Let's try to understand this code meanwhile. Okay, so the problem was that we could not find React. So I think I need to just simply install pnpm React. React package needs to be installed. Or its corresponding type declaration. So maybe we need to install the type of React. So I will ask it how to install React types. This is the command. Okay, so after installing the types, the error has gone. Let me explain what exactly is the types. So there are two types of package. One is the core package that is containing all the functions, etc., all the code. And second is the type package that is telling what type of this like there are many objects, many different objects in the package. Those objects will have some type. So those types are declared separately in a separate package. So because we are using TSX. So types needs to be referred. That's why we also need the types package along with the main package. So main package was pnpm I react, but the type package was pnpm I at the rate types slash react. And we have written minus d here because we want it as a dev dependencies. Dev dependencies don't go to production because in the production we don't need to know the types. While doing development, it is helpful for us to know the type so that we don't make mistake. So we are adding it as dev dependencies, not as a production dependencies. In the package.json, you can see the dependencies and the dev dependencies. So now that we have pasted the code, let us see the next step, how to run it. Okay, so this we can do. This we have already done. So let us reload it. First, let us run the program, run the front end, npm dev, and now let us reload it. Loading courses. Okay, great. Now we also need to run our backend. So I will go to backend folder and write there the uvcon command. Let me see. Yes, this is the uvcon command. I need to activate the Python virtual environment. So I will write the command here because environment is the virtual environment is already activated here. I need to change my folder. So these kind of mistakes, we should not get irritated by these kind of mistakes. They are very normal, and we must focus on what we are doing. Here I will write the pnpm dev, but not inside FastAPI, inside the Next.js frontend. Now let us reload it. Okay, so we are still unable. Okay, so now we are able to get the courses. Let us see how this is happening. It is fetching it from the API URL. So we are keeping the API URL inside this, but it is better to keep it inside a separate .env file. So inside the root of the Next.js project, let us create the .env file. .env.local. It indicates that this env is for local purpose only, local development. And let us now write this. Because this value is needed by a client component in the browser, it uses next underscore public underscore prefix. Next.js exposes variables with this prefix to browser-side code at build time. Now we need to refer this variable. So this is a referring process.env.next public API URL. And now let's restart both the backend and frontend. Actually, we have made changes to the frontend code, so we just need to restart the frontend code. Now let us see the result once again. So we are getting the same result. Okay, so things are working fine. Now let us try to understand the code. So here we are storing the we are initializing the state of courses, and that is empty by default. This is our state number one, course data. The second state is loading, and that is true by default. The page starts in loading state because the request has not completed. And third state is error. And when there is no error, the value is null. When the request fails, we store a user-friendly message. Now this is our use effect. Inside it, we are using try and catch. The try block contains the operation that may fail. So this try block contains the operation that may fail. So we know that this response may not be okay, and in that case, we are throwing an error. The catch block runs when an error occurs. So if error has occurred, this block runs, and the finally block always runs. This part always runs. That makes finally a good place to stop the loading state. So a fetch request does not automatically enter catch merely because the server returned an HTTP status such as 404 or 500. We therefore inspect the response and manually throw an error when the response is unsuccessful. That's why we are checking this if not response.ok. Then we are throwing an error. So let me explain you on the loading state. So when I start the application and click on the reload button, then for some time, for 2 seconds, we see the loading state. This portion is called as loading state. Because the backend contains a 2 second delay, that's why the page first displays loading courses. The frontend has sent the request, but it has not received the response yet. Now let's come to success state. After 2 seconds, the backend responds. The loading message disappears and three course cards appears. Right. So the request succeeded. Response.json converted the JSON response into JavaScript data, and set courses updated the page. So it is sending the courses, and that is the response. That is JSON response. And our page.tsx converted that into JavaScript data. So data equal to yes, this type. And then we are updating set courses. And that's how the courses is displayed. Now let's stop the backend server. Now refresh the Next.js page. The frontend now displays error failed to fetch. So that's our error message. Now restart the backend and let's reload it. The courses appear now. So in case of error, then it shows the error message. Maybe our error message is not that good. So maybe we can improve. So maybe I can ask the AI to improve the error message. I can simply ask it to execute the code, improve the error message on this page. And maybe I can also write and also add a retry button. So it will make the changes. For the NestJS part, you can try it on your own. You can use the backend that we created in the last day. And in the env.local, you can write the port where NestJS is running, maybe 5000. Now, one point I wanted to highlight, as in the beginning, we are saying that if it is using states, if you see in the sketchpad, if it is using state event handling browser APIs, then this is a client component. And for client component in Next.js, it is stated by the use client directive at the top of the file. So we are using the use client directive on this page.tsx. Okay, so it has made some changes, but it is still in progress. So let's wait to make it all the changes and then we will review it. Once we understand the bigger picture, we should use AI wherever it is possible because it makes our work very faster. And I will recommend you to take if you have some pocket money, then instead of spending it carelessly, use it to purchase subscription of different AI tools like Cursor or maybe ChatGPT Cloud. So it has made the changes. Now let us review the files. So there is only one file, and these are changes. It has added use callback here, and here it has added a fallback. That is okay. No worries. Now here is a function get error message. So inside this, if error instance of type error, then we are giving this message. Else we are giving if error instance of error, then we are giving a different message. Okay, so it is handling the two different errors differently. What other changes is there? So earlier we were using async and then fetch courses, but it is using use callback, and inside that, so more or less it is the same. It is just making the code better to read. Now we can write the use effect is much shorter than the previous one. Earlier use effect was very large, so it is a good change. We can accept this, and then it is showing the error beautifully. So before accepting the changes, let us try to run this code, see the result of this code. So I will go to create next app and reload it. Okay, so it looks fine. Now let me stop the backend server and see the error message. Okay, so unable to load courses, could not reach. Make sure the backend is running and try again. Okay, so I will try to put try again and I should get the same error message again. Fine. Now let me open the backend server, start the backend server, and now let me try again. So it is working fine, and the code also looks good to me. So I will accept by clicking on the keep button here. Now let us try to change the endpoint. In the backend code, let us try to change the endpoint and let's see how the front end responses. Maybe I will write it courses too, or wrong courses. Let me save it, and it has reloaded on its own. Now I will try to reload and see. Okay. So the server status responded with the status 404. And when it was stopped, then we would see the status. So it was saying unable to load courses. So we are getting different error messages in the different cases. This is because we check response.ok. The page displays the error state. Now we restore the correct endpoint and save it. Finally, we check and things are fine now. Now let us quickly discuss the common mistakes. So first mistake is course error. Browser console message that appears is blocked by course policy. Solution is allow the Next.js origin in the backend. So in FastAPI we use this allow origins. Here we have done allow origins. So if I make it as 3001, then it will show me the same course error. Now let me reload it, and it will say unable to reach the server. And if we inspect the if I see the console, then I can see the course is blocked by course policy. This message. So that needs to be fixed by changing here 3000. I need to do it as 3000 because the front end is running at port 3000, not 3001. And once I've made the change, I will check again the code and it should work fine. Right. Let's discuss the second mistake. Both applications use port 3000. Next.js commonly runs on port 3000, but Next.js on 3001. So we need to do await AI.listen 3001 for Next.js. Third mistake is environment variable is undefined. So we need to write for browser code, we need to use next underscore public underscore API URL and then restart Next.js. Not simply API URL, but before that next underscore public. Then fourth mistake is backend returns a different JSON structure. Our frontend expects a particular JSON structure. So if backend will return something else, then the code will not work correctly. The frontend and backend must agree on the response structure. Fifth mistake is forgetting to stop loading after an error. without finally directive this try catch and finally. Without this finally, the page would could remain stuck on loading courses. So inside this, we are keeping making set loading as forms. Okay, so today we connected a Next.js frontend to a separate backend API. The frontend sent a get request to slash courses. While waiting, it displayed a loading state. When the request succeeded, it displayed course cards. When the request failed, it displayed an error message and a retry button. We also learned about course environment variables, HTTP status checking, and matching frontend types with backend JSON. Now, task for today is you need to add one more backend endpoint, that is get slash courses slash featured, and it only returns only one featured course. Then add a featured course section to the Next.js page with a loading state, a success state, an error state, and a retry button. So do not copy the existing code blindly. First identify which state belongs to which API request.